out front tonight, the breaking news, a CNN exclusive tonight out front. K-File has unearthed photos of Jeffrey Epstein that we've never seen, and they shed new light on his relationship with President Trump. The revelations come as Trump is under fire from his own base for his Justice Department's handling of the so-called Epstein files. Trump has tried, of course, to distance himself from Epstein every which way. But one of the photos that K-File found confirms that Epstein actually attended Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. And this is the proof. Again, this has never been published before, so this is a new image. You haven't seen it out there on X or anything like that. This is the proof that Epstein attended Trump's wedding at the Plaza Hotel in New York. And in the photo, what you see is Epstein entering the Plaza Hotel. The wedding date of this is December 20th, 1993, in the center of their friendship, which of course continued. And for comparison, we'll show you on the right a photo of Trump and Marla Maples at the same location.
All right, so something absolutely significant just happened that shows the complete and stark contrast between how professional prosecutors are handling their case against Trump and how Trump is personally handling his legal exposure and the prosecutors attacking him. Jack Smith, the former special counsel who investigated Trump's election interference scheme in January 6th, just gave detailed, on-the-record sworn testimony to Congress. Smith sat down in front of the House Judiciary Committee and laid out his entire criminal case against Trump systematically. He explained exactly why he charged Trump with specific crimes. He explained the evidence he found. He explained the relevant law. He explained what his investigation uncovered, and Smith did it calmly and professionally. Smith did it methodically. Smith answered every single question from members of Congress. Smith provided clear, detailed, and specific explanations of why he believed Trump committed crimes. And Smith was credible. But meanwhile, what was Trump doing during all of this? Trump was not in the room. Trump wasn't there to defend himself in person. Trump wasn't there to rebut the evidence directly. Instead, Trump was rage posting on Truth Social. Trump was attacking Smith repeatedly. Trump was calling Smith a sick man. Trump was demanding that Smith himself be prosecuted. Trump was melting down emotionally on social media instead of actually defending himself in court or before Congress or in any legal proceeding.
Andrew Kaczynski of K-File is here with the new images of Trump and Epstein. And Andrew, I shared one of them there, but, so let's start with the one at Trump's wedding. I mean, this is a significant development.
Well, yeah, it is. Trump's wedding to Marla Maples in 1993 was dubbed the wedding of the century by the media at the time. And although we know that Trump and Epstein were friends during this period, this is really the first time that it's actually been reported that Trump invited Epstein to his wedding. This is, we should note, more than a decade before those first allegations of sex trafficking against Epstein. But as you know, Trump's relationship with Epstein has been under the microscope recently. Now, besides that one photo of Epstein entering the reception at the Plaza Hotel, we can also see him in the background of another picture. That's Howard Stern on the far right, along with Robin Leach from Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and Epstein is behind them at the wedding, almost seeming to be photobombing them.
Something significant just happened, and it perfectly captures the contrast between how professional prosecutors handle their case against Trump versus how Trump handles his own legal exposure. Jack Smith, the former special counsel who investigated Trump's election interference in January 6th, just gave detailed sworn testimony to Congress. He sat in front of the House Judiciary Committee and systematically laid out his entire criminal case. He explained exactly why he charged Trump with specific crimes. He walked through the evidence. He broke down the relevant law. He described what his investigation actually uncovered. And Smith did it calmly, professionally, methodically. He answered every single question from members of Congress with clear, detailed explanations of why he believed Trump committed crimes. And here's what matters most. Smith was credible. Now look at the contrast. What was Trump doing during all of this? He wasn't in the room. He wasn't there to defend himself in person. He wasn't there to rebut the evidence directly. Instead, Trump was rage posting on Truth Social, attacking Smith over and over, calling him a sick man, demanding that Smith himself be prosecuted. Trump was melting down emotionally on social media instead of actually defending himself. Not in court, not before Congress, not in any legal proceeding whatsoever. And there's another moment that really shows just how desperate Trump's legal position has become. During a separate hearing just days before Smith's congressional testimony, Trump's lawyers actually tried to physically walk out. They tried to literally leave the courtroom while the judge was asking them questions about evidence, procedure, and their legal strategy. But the judge said, absolutely not. The judge ordered U.S. Marshals to secure the exits and block the doors. The judge warned that anyone heading for the door could be held in contempt and arrested on the spot. The judge basically said, "You are not leaving this courtroom without answering my questions. You will stay. You will address the evidence. You will not run away." And Trump's lawyers had to sit back down. They had to stay in their seats. They had to answer the judge's questions even though they desperately didn't want to. Legal analysts called this attempted walkout a sign of desperation from the defense team. Legal experts said it shows how bad Trump's legal position actually is. Trump's lawyers are so out of options, so unable to rebut whatever was being presented, that they tried to just physically leave the courtroom. Come on, that's not the behavior of a defense team confident in their case. That's not how attorneys act when they believe they have good answers to the evidence. That's desperation. That's a legal team falling apart under pressure. Here's what really matters about all of this. Jack Smith laid out his evidence in detail. He explained his case methodically. He answered questions under oath. He provided specific details about the criminal conspiracy, about the evidence of obstruction, about Trump's own recorded and documented words. And Trump's response? Rage on social media, personal attacks on the prosecutor, demands for revenge prosecutions against Smith, lawyers trying to walk out of court. Trump didn't defend himself. He didn't rebut the evidence with facts and law. He didn't calmly explain why Smith was wrong or why the evidence doesn't prove what Smith says it proves. Trump just melted down. He lost control. He showed desperation. He showed that he doesn't have a real answer to the evidence. That contrast, Jack Smith calmly walking through evidence and law on camera while Trump erupts emotionally online and his lawyers flirt with courtroom chaos, tells you everything about the relative strength of each side's legal position. It tells you Trump is in serious trouble. Smith testified that his investigation uncovered evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump participated in a criminal conspiracy to reverse the 2020 election results. Beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the gold standard. That's the highest standard for criminal conviction in America. That's what prosecutors need to convince a jury. And Smith is saying his investigation found evidence that meets that standard. He's saying prosecutors have proof that Trump conspired to overturn an election he lost. He said Trump knowingly violated the very laws he swore to uphold. Trump took an oath as president to uphold the Constitution and the laws of this country. And Smith is saying Trump broke those laws knowingly, on purpose, with criminal intent, deliberately and intentionally. And Trump's response to all this powerful evidence being laid out? Rage on social media, calling Smith a sick man. That's not a legal defense. That's not a rebuttal based on evidence or law. That's just Trump having an emotional meltdown because he can't actually defend himself against the evidence being presented. That's Trump showing weakness. Let's dig into what Jack Smith actually said in his testimony, what specific evidence he's describing, and what it means for Trump's criminal liability. Smith gave testimony twice on the record. Once in a transcribed House interview officially released in December 2025, and again in a full public House Judiciary hearing on January 22, 2026. So Smith gave detailed testimony on the public record under oath with everything documented and available. In that testimony, Smith laid out exactly what his investigation found. He said prosecutors uncovered evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump participated in a criminal conspiracy to reverse the 2020 election. Beyond a reasonable doubt, the highest standard of proof in criminal law. the standard a jury uses to convict. That's saying the evidence is as strong as it gets. That's saying prosecutors have proof of criminal conspiracy that would convince a jury. Smith also testified in detail about the classified documents case. He testified about evidence that Trump knowingly violated the laws he swore to uphold. He's talking about Trump keeping classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. He's talking about Trump obstructing justice by moving documents around and trying to hide them. He's talking about Trump trying to hide evidence from prosecutors. And Smith is saying the evidence is overwhelming. Prosecutors can prove obstruction of justice. Prosecutors can prove violation of the Espionage Act. Prosecutors can prove it all beyond a reasonable doubt. What's absolutely significant about Smith's testimony is that he answered every question directly. He provided detailed explanations of his reasoning. He didn't dodge difficult questions. He didn't get emotional or angry. He didn't attack anybody or make excuses. Smith just calmly explained what he found and why he made the charging decisions he made. He said he would bring the same charges against any president of either party given the same evidence. This isn't about politics or partisan persecution. This is about evidence. This is about the law. This is about what the investigation actually found. And Smith was credible, calm, professional, a federal prosecutor with decades of experience explaining what his investigation uncovered. The evidence Smith described, based on his testimony, court filings, and what's already public, is serious, significant, and detailed. He's talking about phone records showing Trump calling Georgia Secretary of State Raffensperger and asking him to find votes. Phone records, documented evidence, Trump on tape. He's talking about phone records showing Trump calling Congress on January 6th, trying to pressure them to block election certification, documented, recorded. He's talking about insider witnesses, Republicans who worked for Trump, campaigned for Trump, supported Trump, now cooperating with prosecutors and describing what Trump did and said. Cooperating witnesses who were there, who saw it, who know what happened, who have firsthand knowledge. He's talking about surveillance footage and video evidence from January 6th. He's talking about Trump's own recorded words asking for votes to be found. He's talking about emails and text messages showing Trump's intent and Trump's knowledge that he lost the election. Smith is describing a mountain of evidence, multiple sources, corroborating evidence, evidence that all points to the same conclusion. Trump tried to overturn an election and tried to hide evidence. The conspiracy charge is based on Trump's extensive efforts to overturn the election he lost. Trump called Georgia Secretary of State Raffensperger, asking him to find 11,180 votes. Trump called Congress on January 6th, trying to pressure members to block certification. Trump tried to organize fake elector schemes in multiple swing states. Trump pressured the DOJ to investigate debunked conspiracy theories like Italygate. Trump used the violence on January 6th to try to achieve his political goal of staying in power despite losing. All of this is documented. All of this is in phone records. All of this is in testimony from Trump's own people who participated or witnessed it. All of this is in documentary evidence. All of this is available to prosecutors and available in court. So when Smith says prosecutors have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt of criminal conspiracy, he's saying they have really strong evidence. Multiple cooperating witnesses from inside Trump's own circle, recorded conversations, documentary evidence, phone records of Trump's calls, Trump's own recorded words. The obstruction charge is based on Trump's efforts to hide evidence and interfere with investigations. Trump tried to obstruct the investigation into January 6th. Trump tried to get people to delete text messages and communications. Trump tried to stop cooperating witnesses from talking to prosecutors. Trump tried to pressure people not to testify. Trump tried to move classified documents around Mar-a-Lago. Trump tried to hide classified documents. Trump tried to delay and obstruct getting documents back to the government. All of this is evidence of obstruction of justice, and Smith is saying prosecutors have proof of that. Insider witnesses who can testify about Trump's efforts to hide documents, email evidence, text message evidence. Now, Trump's response to all this powerful evidence being laid out and explained, rage on social media. During Smith's hearing, while Smith was testifying about the criminal conspiracy and the evidence, while Smith was explaining to Congress why he charged Trump with crimes, Trump was live posting attacks on Truth Social, calling Smith a sick man, demanding Smith be prosecuted, trying to discredit Smith while Smith was literally explaining the evidence in front of Congress and cameras. Trump wasn't there. Trump wasn't in the room defending himself. Trump wasn't providing a rebuttal. Trump was rage posting online like a teenager being disciplined by a teacher. And that tells you something really important. Trump can't actually defend himself against this evidence. Trump doesn't have a good legal rebuttal to what Smith is saying. Trump can't explain the phone records, or the cooperating witnesses, or the documentary evidence. So instead of defending himself with facts and evidence, Trump attacks the prosecutor personally. Instead of explaining why Smith is wrong about the law or the facts, Trump demands the prosecutor be prosecuted. That's the behavior of someone who knows he's in serious legal trouble and doesn't have a real defense. The attempted courtroom walkout by Trump's lawyers is also really significant. Trump's legal team literally tried to just leave. They tried to walk out of a hearing while the judge was asking them questions about evidence, procedure, and discovery. That's not normal. That's not something a competent defense team does. A competent defense team answers questions. A competent defense team fights procedurally if they disagree. A competent defense team argues their position. They don't just try to leave. The fact that Trump's lawyers were so desperate, so out of legal options, so unable to rebut whatever was being presented, that they tried to physically leave the courtroom. That tells you something serious about how bad Trump's legal position actually is. Let's break down what Smith's testimony and Trump's response actually mean for Trump's legal exposure and his future in the criminal justice system. First, Smith's sworn testimony on the record in front of Congress locks in the prosecution's case and narrative. Smith explained the evidence. He explained the law. He explained his charging decisions, under oath, on the record, publicly available to everyone. Now there's an official record of why prosecutors believe Trump committed crimes, an official record of what evidence prosecutors say they have, an official record of Smith's reasoning, analysis, and professional judgment. None of that can be walked back or changed or rewritten. Smith said it. It's on the record. It's in the transcript. Prosecutors have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt of criminal conspiracy. Prosecutors have cooperating witnesses. That's all locked in now. Second, Smith's testimony shows the prosecution has a strong and detailed case. When a special counsel testifies under oath that he has evidence beyond a reasonable doubt of criminal conspiracy, that's significant. Prosecutors are confident in their evidence. Prosecutors have vetted their evidence thoroughly. Prosecutors have multiple sources. Prosecutors have cooperating witnesses, documentary evidence, recorded evidence, phone records. When Smith talks about insider witnesses and phone records and Trump's own documented words, he's describing the kind of evidence that actually wins cases, the kind of evidence that convinces juries to convict, evidence that is difficult, almost impossible, to rebut. Third, Trump's response, rage posting on social media, calling Smith a sick man, demanding Smith be prosecuted, having his lawyers try to walk out of court, shows that Trump doesn't have a good legal defense to the evidence. If Trump had strong evidence of innocence, if Trump had a good explanation for the phone records and the cooperating witnesses and the documentary evidence and his own recorded words, Trump would be presenting that. Trump would be calmly explaining why Smith is wrong. Trump would be providing a counter-narrative based on facts. But Trump isn't doing that. Trump can't do that because he doesn't have a good answer. Trump is just attacking Smith, just raging, just demanding revenge. And that tells you Trump doesn't have a good legal defense. Trump can't rebut the evidence with facts and law. So Trump attacks the person presenting the evidence instead. Fourth, the attempted courtroom walkout shows how desperate and panicked Trump's legal team has become. When lawyers try to just leave a courtroom, when they try to avoid answering a judge's questions, when they try to physically leave rather than defend their client's position. That shows desperation. That shows they don't have good answers. That shows they're out of legal options. That shows they're not confident in their case. A strong defense doesn't need to walk out. A strong defense stands and fights procedurally and argues its position. But Trump's lawyers were so desperate they tried to physically leave. That tells you Trump's legal position is in serious trouble. Here's what this all means for Trump's legal future and his exposure to criminal prosecution. Trump is facing serious federal charges. He's facing a special counsel who has evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. He's facing cooperating witnesses, Republicans who were in his administration, who worked for him, who participated in his schemes. He's facing documentary evidence. He's facing recorded evidence of his own voice. He's facing phone records. And Trump's defense is falling apart. His legal team is desperate and panicked. Trump is rage posting on social media instead of defending himself professionally. His lawyers are trying to walk out of court rather than answer questions. That's not a strong legal position. That's not a position that wins in court. That's a position that looks like guilt and desperation. The bigger picture here is that prosecutors are building a detailed and comprehensive case based on solid documented evidence. Prosecutors have cooperating witnesses, Republicans who worked for Trump, who were there, who saw what happened, who know what Trump said and what Trump intended. Prosecutors have phone records showing Trump calling Congress on January 6th trying to pressure them. Prosecutors have phone records showing Trump calling state officials asking them to find votes. Prosecutors have documentary evidence of Trump's efforts to overturn the election. Prosecutors have Trump's own recorded words asking for votes to be found. Prosecutors have text messages and emails showing Trump's knowledge and intent. Prosecutors have a mountain of evidence, and a jury is going to see that evidence. A jury is going to hear from the cooperating witnesses. A jury is going to see the phone records. A jury is going to hear Trump's own words on tape. A jury is going to review the documentary evidence. And a jury is going to have to decide whether Trump is guilty. Based on the evidence Jack Smith described in his testimony, based on the overwhelming evidence prosecutors say they have, a jury is probably going to convict Trump. Here's what Trump's actual legal exposure really is when you look at it honestly. Trump is facing federal criminal charges for election interference and conspiracy to overturn an election. He's facing charges for obstruction of justice. He's facing charges for mishandling classified documents. He's facing multiple serious federal charges that carry serious prison time if convicted. Trump could face years in prison if convicted on these charges. Trump's legal exposure is massive. Trump's legal position is terrible. And Trump knows it. Trump knows the evidence is strong. That's why he's rage posting on social media. That's why he's attacking prosecutors. That's why he's demanding revenge prosecutions. That's why his lawyers are trying to walk out of court. Trump knows he's in serious legal trouble. Trump knows the evidence is overwhelming. Trump knows prosecutors have a strong case. And Trump is panicking and melting down. Here's the final thing to understand about what Jack Smith's testimony means for Trump and for the criminal cases pending against him. When a former special counsel comes forward and testifies under oath that he has evidence beyond a reasonable doubt of criminal conspiracy and obstruction of justice, that's a powerful and significant moment. That's a moment that tells you the case is strong. That's a moment that tells you prosecutors are confident and competent. That's a moment that tells you Trump is facing real legal jeopardy and real criminal liability. And Trump's response, rage posting on social media, attacking the prosecutor, having his lawyers try to walk out of court, melting down emotionally, shows that Trump doesn't have a good answer to that evidence. Trump can't defend himself legally. Trump can't rebut the evidence with facts and law. So Trump attacks the prosecutor instead. Trump has emotional meltdowns. Trump tries to intimidate the prosecutor. Come on. When prosecutors have cooperating witnesses from Trump's own circle, when prosecutors have phone records, when prosecutors have documentary evidence, When prosecutors have Trump's own recorded words and text messages, when a special counsel testifies under oath that the evidence is beyond a reasonable doubt of criminal conspiracy, that's a strong prosecution case. That's the kind of case that sends people to prison. That's the kind of case that Trump should be absolutely terrified about. And based on Trump's reaction, the rage posting, the attacks on the prosecutor, the desperation, the legal team trying to walk out of court, that's exactly what's happening. Trump is terrified. Trump knows he's in serious trouble. Trump knows the evidence is overwhelming and strong, and Trump is falling apart under the pressure. If you found this breakdown valuable, if you want to stay informed on the developments that actually matter, make sure you're subscribed to National Affairs Media. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who needs to understand what's really happening in these cases. And if you're watching this and you see the contrast between professional prosecution and emotional meltdown as clearly as I do, if this video helped you understand what's actually at stake here, drop a blue heart in the comments. Let me know you're paying attention. Let me know you see what's happening. One person showed up, raised his hand, and testified under oath. The other hid behind a keyboard, throwing insults. That contrast tells you everything you need to know.